10 years. Oh, let me start that again. Too late. 10 years ago tonight, it was the first ever live RHAP event and also the second episode of Survivor San Juan Del Sur. I'm Rob Cesternino. Back again to talk with me about it is Josh Wigler. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing particularly well. I have some exciting news for you.
Yeah?
I have two immunity idols.
We have two things to talk about. Yeah.
Two things to talk about. We've got idol number one, Survivor San Juan Del Sur, still iconic. 10 years and 1 week later.
Yeah.
And another idol to talk about, my good friend Rob Cesternino, who is celebrating the 10th anniversary of the first ever RHAP live know-it-alls.
First ever live know-it-alls, I should say. Yeah, because we did do at least an event talking about
not the first live event, not the first live event.
We did do a roast. I believe also I had done some Big Brother live shows. But first ever Survivor live event in New York City, the first ever live know-it-alls, October 1st. 2014, and here we are 10 years later. It was the night of episode 2 of Survivor San Juan Del Sur, and Josh and I went back and looked at that, and a fun little hour of Survivor. Remember when Survivor used to be only an hour?
I was having this thought because I've been having this like conflicting feeling of like 90 minutes is a lot to ask every single week. Like that's a lot of time to put in your life to watch a show. But having just finished rewatching, or I guess for me, first watching 45 and 46 a couple of months before that, and getting those 90-minute episodes and just how full they end up being, like you're not getting like a playing with the boys montage unless you've got that extra 30 minutes. You know what I mean? And like San Juan Del Sur specifically, this episode, it felt fast. It felt like real condensed. And I think part of that too is like the multiple challenges in the 60-minute, like 42-minute format. It's a lot that's condensed. Having said that, this episode specifically, I feel like has a lot of gold in it.
Yes.
That like was immediately apparent and has like surprisingly stood the test of time. Some of the lines from this episode.
You know, it's interesting that, and somebody check the math here.
Okay. Won't be me.
The show is now 50% longer.
Yeah.
But the time they film it, I believe, is now, if not 50% shorter, it's 33% shorter.
Wait, what are we? What are you even talking about?
The show is now. It used to be.
This is Valmath.
They used to film it for 39 days and make a 1-hour TV show. Now they film it for 26 days and make a 90-minute TV show.
Are you feeling jilted? Are you feeling like they should have shown more back in your day?
No, I'm not jilted. I'm just saying that maybe that
they've shown. You probably, I do think, I expect you probably like dodged a little bit of a bullet in them not having like the 90-minute episodes in the Amazon era.
Oh, I mean, I might have had 300 confessionals if they had 90-minute episodes. More time for me.
Confessional count?
I don't know what it is. I want to say it's like 100, but I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
But that being said, no,
I don't. Survivor players who you think know what their confessional count is?
I don't think many, because I think that it's such a like inside baseball stat to know how many confessionals a player has.
We're talking about a Survivor era that's 10 years ago. Can we say it properly? Inside Schmergen Brawl, please.
Inside Schmergen Brawl. Yeah. So I think it's more of like a fan thing. So I don't think there's that many Survivor players that are that deep in the weeds that would know how many confessionals they had. No, I'm just saying that maybe you're feeling like, okay, this felt tighter in that maybe like they ended up getting down to a little bit more of the gold as opposed to just seeing more of what's happening.
I think that there was a lot of gold. I think this is the episode where My Life is Fine is born, which is absolutely a thing I just say in my life, let alone on podcasts. This is the beginning of, is this the beginning, you think, of like Jeff Probst, the negotiator? Like, is this like sort of like the start
okay, well, let's start there. Okay, because I did pull some clips from this episode. And so that one of the things that happens here in episode 2 of Survivor San Juan Del Sur is that we see that John Mish, a lot of issues with the Flint in this season. People broke the Flint on day 0. John Mish has lost the Flint. It's a major problem for the Hunapu tribe. The Hunapu tribe goes to tribal council. We see Julie McGee win the reward at the Hero Arena, and Reed says, Jeff, we have an interesting proposal for you, and tries to trade the Flint, not for the fishing gear that they just won, but for a potentially half-eaten bag of beans.
A bag of fartin' beans.
Of fartin' beans. Yeah, like, a little bit Jack and the Beanstalk of like, okay, I'm going to trade in my beans for some things.
Ooh,
actually, I think they traded a cow for beans in that story.
I think that this is also, by the way, maybe like you just, maybe it's just my crazy brain, but I feel like you just opened my mind's eye to an incredible Survivor like idol hunting twist, which would be, it would require that Survivor supply their contestants with food again. So like they give the survivors like a starting bag of beans. Someone finds like a Beware Advantage note, and the Beware Advantage's terms are, you have to plant the beans and wait 5 days for them to grow into an immunity idol. So you have to steal your tribe's food and plant it and have it turn into an immunity beanstalk.
Now, again, unless these are magic beans, I don't think that the beanstalk, unless like the immunity idol is just like little bean sprouts. But I think in a bag of beans, I think you can get away with like 4 or 5 beans to go plant them.
I think like you take the bag, you have to bury the bag, and like you have to like bury it at a specific spot. And then Jimmy or whoever's like going around and doing the idol stuff these days, like when they're at a challenge 5 days later, unburies the bean bag and replaces it with an idol, maybe even in the same bag. And then you pull that out, and now you've got your beanstalk idol. Just thought.
Okay. Yeah. No bad ideas in brainstorming.
Yeah.
And so Reed
he
proposes to Jeff, okay, a trade.
Beans for Flint.
Beans for Flint is the trade that's being offered. Jeff, not loving the trade.
No.
First, let me understand the situation. So the tribe with 2 firemen, Keith and Jeremy, you've lost it. It's gone, Jeff. So
I love that Jeff equates also that they have firemen on their tribe, and that they are unable to make fire. Now, the firemen actually do the opposite, but let's not let that get in the way of, an interesting observation.
Like, I don't think necessarily that like being a fireman means that like you need to have 24-hour supervision of Flint. Like, I don't think part of like the elaborate fireman kit is like you go into the like burning building with a Flint on your hip.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
You want to make a trade, but you want to keep the fishing gear and you want to trade the beans.
Yes.
Walk me through this from a negotiation standpoint. You're the ones who need to make the deal. My life is fine.
My life is fine is so good.
My life is fine. Yeah.
This is so. Was it so? I have now seen all of the new era, but this current season 47 is the first one I'm watching weekly. However, that being said, I am at least vaguely aware of some preseason stuff. And was it last season 46 in the preseason where Jeff basically was like, I know I've been soft a little bit here,
Spicy Jeff,
but I'm going to bring the heat. I'm going to be spicy Jeff. San Juan Del Sur era Jeff. This feels like spicy Jeff from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Like, my life is fine. Like, doesn't he seem very annoyed to be having to do this negotiation at all?
Yeah, I feel that Jeff in these episodes does seem like a little edgier all throughout these couple of episodes, and that he does not like the offer for this trade. He doesn't think it's amusing at all.
At all.
We're also going to see later on in this season, not to preview too far ahead, there's going to be a second trade where that I believe the Hunapu tribe eats all their rice and then has to trade their tarps for rice. And ultimately, that's an issue. Now, the rice negotiation does become a pretty big part of the show going into the 30s and ultimately into the 40s. So
it's a huge part of the 40s, right? Like in the 40s, like it's an actual signpost, it seems like.
Yes. In the mid-30s, we have now, I believe that there are stories that this actually happened first on Ghost Island and it didn't make the show. But Angelina famously sits out of the challenge to earn rice for the tribe.
Right, correct. But nowadays, it's like literally like it's the same challenge, the same timing every season of like, y'all hungry enough to sit out of this challenge for beans? Here, like or for rice rather. Here I wonder, like in this era, if we're trying to think of like ways in which San Juan del Sur and 47 are connected across space and time. Could you imagine if Jeff says yes to this deal? Would Reed have tried to like pocket some of the beans, like secretly just like grab a fistful of beans and put it in his pockets and give it to Jeff? And would he have gotten away with it? He's a little more flexible than the average bear.
Right.
So
do you think that Reed is leaving some of the beans in his pocket and not putting them all in the bag to give to Jeff?
Yeah. I think that like his like he makes a really good like acrobatics check on that and is able to just like sort of like stealthily grab some of the beans and store the beans.
Yeah. The DNA of the Jeff negotiating with the contestants, though, I do feel like that this is important here. That I feel like I try to remember earlier negotiations, and of course in Survivor, the Australian Outback, they traded in the Texas flag for more rice, and then also I feel like that there was a little bit of negotiation in Survivor Philippines where Penner ends up like, okay, let's just what do we end this challenge and you take the sandwiches, we'll take the rice. Like there's a little bit of that, but that's not quite with Jeff. We also have in this same season and in Survivor Worlds Apart next, where Jeff ends up letting the contestants where they have the touchy subjects challenge.
Yeah,
which this is the last time we run touchy subjects. That Jeff is like, you know what? Why don't you just tell me who should win the challenge?
Yeah.
I just open to like blowing some things up.
I think that Jeff is at like the beginning of his blow stuff up era. And I wonder how much of this is like, okay, we were about to do Redemption Island and now we're not going to do Redemption Island anymore. And like, is he a little edgy at this point in time? Mm-hmm. How much of it also is just because of like the sheer buffoonery of this cast? Keith just like days earlier is already like, Wesley lost the Flint. Like my idiot kid lost the Flint. And now it's his tribe that's losing the Flint. And like, how much more of this is Jeff able to withstand? And it's what, day 5, day 4 even at that point. So I think some of the shenanigans from these people does not seem to be Jeffrey's favorite.
Yeah, certainly possible. Okay, so at Hero Arena, right before this negotiation for the rice, we see John Rocker and Julie McGee takes on John, her boyfriend.
Yes.
In a battle, a climactic battle. Takes a little bit. Julie ends up winning the challenge and beats John Rocker. Yeah. And John Rocker is asked for his reaction to losing to his girlfriend.
John, what's this like for you to not only lose, because that's tough for anybody, but you're losing to your girlfriend. Now you're going to exile.
Remove the friend part. I'm losing to a girl. I just got beat by a girl.
John Rocker's such a scumbag. What a scumbag. So I don't mean to like cross the streams too much. Having said that, this episode is the episode that you and Stephen Fishback come to New York City and bring the know-it-alls into town for the first time live.
Yeah.
And I just rewatched it a few minutes before we hit record on the podcast. And holy crap, did you not get a good hated John Rocker? Like I had forgotten, of course, huge Mets fan, and congratulations, Rob.
Go Mets.
That you would have a lot of rage against John Rocker, but you really pulled no punchers in saying John Rocker is the worst person on the internet.
I mean, I feel pretty decent about that take.
10 years ago, are you still hitting that hard? Like, do you think 10 years greater, you're hitting as hard as saying one of the Survivor contestants is one of the worst people on
No, I really feel like that. Even I watched this whole podcast also that I think that we were, for better or for worse, in 2014, I think that now we talk about the show again, for better or for worse, in a way is like that every single person who's on the show is probably watching what we're doing and hearing what we say, and, could potentially, have like some kind of right or wrong righteous indignation about, everything. So even like minor criticism, I think, has to be couched in, of course, this is a great person and we don't know them and they're just in this circumstance. And, there's a lot, whereas in 2014, we could shoot from the hip a little bit more.
Yeah. I want to go back to the era where we just said that some of these Survivor contestants are the worst people.
Well, for that, Josh, you could podcast with us about Big Brother.
Well, yeah. That seems like a great idea.
Yeah.
That seems like a great idea.
Now, John Rocker had quite a resume coming into Survivor. And I do think that coming out of Survivor, I think that there was like a little bit of a thought of like, did this experience, did John Rocker change any of his ways based off of this experience? I think that, some of the cast had very positive interactions. And I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole and I said, like, what's John Rocker talking about on Twitter now?
Yeah.
And I think that in a very quick scroll, I got to a tweet where John Rocker said, I stand by everything I said 30 years ago.
Oh, 30 years.
And
greater.
so I too stand by everything I said 10 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, great. I love that. That. Yeah, so he does not like losing to Julie. This is not the first thing that he'll lose. This is a bad episode for John Rocker. John Rocker doesn't do particularly well throughout this episode.
If you think this week's episode is bad, Josh.
Yeah, just wait one more. But it was like kind of amazing to like go back and look at how historically bad he is, and also to go back and look at how historically hated he was by you. Was a real treat to go back.
Yeah, and I thought I did not have a bad John Rocker impression also on the know-it-alls from 10 years ago. You just got to
do it. Kenny Powers is really all it's got to be.
Mm-hmm. I'm effing out. I'm effing in. You're effing out.
Yeah.
But just
vote you out.
That line of forget the friend. I lost to a girl.
I lost to a girl. Shut up, John Rocker.
Shut your mouth, homie G.
Shut your mouth, homie G.
Yep.
Yeah, not great. But good for you for having a take that is, I think, enduring 10 years greater.
One of the few that has aged well. Okay. Yeah. So in this episode, we didn't really talk too much about John Rocker's troubled past in episode number 1. There was a little bit of that identifying him. He's a famous baseball player. But here, numerous contestants are talking about how, is that the same guy? You hear Dale talk about, hey, is that the guy that got run out of the league for saying a bunch of stuff? That you saw Jeremy, who also says, I know who that guy is.
Jeremy knows. Jeremy's got John Rocker's number. Jeremy is just like immediately like, yeah, that's the dude who said all the racist and homophobic stuff. And I have to sleep in the same beach with him for the next night or two.
Mm-hmm.
They end up not showing a lot from their time on Exile Island together. They go to Exile Island. Jeremy finds the clue to the idol. I couldn't tell if he invited Rocker to take a look at the clue to the idol versus like, is he kind of like, did Rocker just sort of like shoulder his way into like looking at the clue to the idol with Jeremy?
Mm-hmm.
But Jeremy's like, well, maybe I need to like be on this racist xenophobe's good side so that he could protect my wife on the other beach. And like, at first it's like, okay, you know, not an unreasonable idea. It's just you're entrusting your wife's fate in the hands of known idiot John Rocker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that Jeremy is hoping that there could be some sort of like quid pro quo that goes on where John Rocker will and for in John Rocker's credit, I think he does think that he is going to protect Val, and him and Val just so sadly were not on the same page. But I do believe that his intentions were to honor the agreement that he made with Jeremy.
Totally, 100%. It just goes horribly.
Goes horribly
really,
wrong.
really poorly.
Yeah.
But I wonder, has Jeremy ever talked about like what was that time like? What was that time on Exile
It's
Island?
a good question.
Jeremy's had so much like other like historic Survivor stuff to talk about that like I'm sure like he just hasn't really gotten that part of the deep dive. I would love to know what Exile Island night was like for Jeremy and John.
To be fair, that from my recollection, I feel like that Jeremy spoke positively about his time with John Rocker. Now, again, John Rocker, that they did not go to, Jeremy was on the jury. John Rocker famously was on the pre-jury trip. So I think that maybe Val might have had more time with John Rocker in this experience. Yeah.
Yes. It seems like my memory of this is that like the pre-jury crew from this season, I don't want to speak out of school, and of course it's a decade later is where my memory is drawing from, but I seem to remember like pictures of them all like by like hot springs, and they're in their like
had a
little
good time. I think this was a party season. I really do. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Josh, the immunity challenge here in this episode was Sumo at Sea. Now, this was a big set piece in the original Blood versus Water. Aris and Vetus went after each other. Vetus faked that he was hurt. He got up and they talked about being the villain. So we get it again here. Not as climactic. Sumo at Sea here.
Well, I guess it depends on what you're here for. Like if you're here for Gomez and Fester like throwing knives at each other, brother. Like we didn't get that. They would be great on a Blood versus Water season together. Adam's edition would be amazing. But what you do get, I think, in its place is the Missy Baylor showdown.
Yes.
And the Missy Baylor showdown in its own way, I think, is at least as great, if not as like violent, like it's not as much of an act. Like, okay, Vetus versus Aris is an action movie. Missy versus Baylor is a drama.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's set the
maybe
scene.
Even a tragedy.
Yes, let's set the scene a little bit. Okay, so here comes Missy and Baylor.
They're going to reset what Sumo at Sea is for all of the people who were won 10 years ago.
Just in case you can't visualize what this is in your mind, that they don't really do too many challenges like this, but it basically is there's sort of like a platform in the ocean, and you have a man. And Survivor has done earlier versions of this in the mud and stuff like this, but this is you have basically sort of like kind of like a big pillow shield, and then it's your job to push the other person off the platform. That's Sumo at Sea. And so
why don't we do that anymore?
I think that they...
Is it the last one?
This may be the last Sumo at Sea. I don't think...
last Sumo at Sea? Why are we
I think the closest we get to this is sort of like basketball in the water. We really don't wrestle anymore. I think it might be an insurance issue.
Okay. Was it like a copyright thing that like they can't do wrestling or something?
I don't believe it's a copyright issue. I just think that after we almost lose Beast Mode Cowboy, I think that we walk back some of the physicality in the competitions where like I think the most we get is sort of like there's a life preserver in the water and you're sort of like wrestling for it.
Right. And I guess like, I don't know. I mean, like I'm a big advocate of the blindfold challenge is unnecessarily dangerous and probably shouldn't be run. Like that feels like a really dangerous one where people could really, really hurt themselves. I know you feel very strongly about this as well. Having said that, I don't know why. Perhaps it's just raw bloodlust, but I would love to see Sumo at Sea back, and I think that the survivors should be allowed to attack each other more often.
Well, Josh, you say that you'd love to see it come back, but we had blood drawn in this very challenge as Missy and Baylor.
That might be what I'm saying is like, more. Yeah.
All right, so Missy and Baylor goes into it, and first off, Jeff, we know how much Jeff is interested in these human relationships, and he starts off by asking Missy and Baylor, must be easier for Baylor, the daughter, to go into this battle than it would be for Missy, the mom.
Yeah,
but Missy says she's ready.
Yeah. Yeah, she's ready. She's visualizing one of her exes.
Yes, she's putting a different face on Baylor, and Jeff is curious what and this must be music to Jeff's ears because we love this is their story of talking about that Missy's been married 3 times, and Missy is visualizing the face of one of her exes on the body of Baylor.
However, on the flip,
there's
2 sides to that coin, my friend. And Baylor is imagining the face of one of Missy's exes as well.
Now, do you think it was the same one?
I would like to think so. Yeah. Was that is that like their Street Fighter theme song? Is that what's playing underneath the battle? I don't think anyone ever supercut that together.
Probably not. So they go in 2 battering rams instantly, and I'm not even sure what happened. Baylor.
It looks like Missy. There's like a little bit of like an overeager slip and slide that may happen there, and like Missy's head bashes into Baylor's mouth.
I didn't rewind it. I thought that maybe just like Baylor might have just bit down on her lip.
Oh, really? Oh, well, then
I think that you would have had if she headbutt her in the face.
Yeah.
I think you would have had a more of a
Well, that's
issue.
why I feel like Missy's like, oh my God, look what I've done to my daughter. Like, I feel like that's the moment. That's how it reads to me is that, and Josh's to me, which by the way, we have to talk about the read.
We got it. We got it.
Yeah. Incredible. That then Missy's whole, she can't get past what's happened.
Yeah.
I read it as Missy, having sort of that iconic, drama movie moment of, oh my God, what have I done? Yeah. She's just covered in Baylor's blood. And Baylor, but I like the idea that this is was this a premeditated, this could have been a really good strategy of okay, well, I've seen Sumo at Sea. I know my mom, if I just bite my lip hard enough and produce some, this is a real WWE move, right? Of the razor. I feel is this gonna psych out her mom? I don't know if history bears out that Baylor's got that level of thinking, but
yeah, I don't think so.
But she bleeds and she cries.
Yeah, and then it seems that Missy, very half-hearted, they resume and just kind of jumps into the water.
She just jumps in.
Yeah. Ultimately, we see that it's Hunapu that wins, even with Missy not winning the point. We have some interesting battles that happen. Drew beats Alec.
Yep. So that's our brother battle, but it's not particularly epic.
Yeah.
Drew's most epic moment happens while he is on the dock watching the combat. And as Josh and Reed step into the gladiatorial arena.
Yeah, so we have the battle of the boyfriends. Josh and Reed are going to step up. And so, look, it was a time, and we talk about this in the Know-It-Alls. I think one of the reasons why San Juan Del Sur didn't necessarily catch on as maybe as quickly as the previous Blood versus Water, I think it was maybe hard to follow. Wait, who's related to who? Who's with who? That person is? Oh, that's that person's relative. We didn't know these people, so we were sort of trying to learn on the fly, and so were the people that were in the game. Okay.
Reed from Hunapu taking on his boyfriend Josh from Coyopa. Let's go, Josh. Let's go, Josh. It's Reed.
It is Reed who is on our team.
John Mish has to explain to Drew Christie, like, no, that's Reed that's been on our team for 6 days.
That to me is still so funny. Drew Christie to me is still just unbelievable. Where
get him on Survivor 50? Was he on the ballot?
Definitely not. Definitely do not bring him back. For certain, he should not be.
Don't find his Twitter.
Don't find his Twitter. I don't want to see his whereabouts on certain dates. But God, was he just like so inadvertently funny. And like John Mish is like sort of like a secret like source of gold as well. Like whether it's his like panic about losing the Flint or just like the very casual, it is Reed who is the one on our team. It's just like, it's just way too funny.
There's a scene early in the episode, Josh, where Jeremy is talking about them. And they're like doing like squats with like pieces of wood and like working out, and like Natalie is rolling her eyes, and Jeremy is just talking about how like
in a weight room.
Yeah. He's talking about John and Drew. He's like, they're not real people. They're cartoon characters.
He got it. Nailed it on the first try. Jeremy knew. I also love Natalie, who has more emotional content this episode, of course, seeing Nadia's gone. So like you're like, if we're tracking like Natalie's winter story, like you can see it starting here. But I even love her being like those deadlifts aren't even impressive, bro. And I don't remember if like 10 years ago at the time, Natalie, like when we were talking like evolution of strategy and talking about San Juan Del Sur, then was Natalie on Instagram like showing off her like ridiculous workout routine?
No, I think that
I don't
came,
remember.
I don't follow it closely enough. I think that like her like real CrossFit era ended up coming later in life.
But like, was this like an origin story for her? Like,
did she watch? Like,
did she
John
see
Mish
Tweedle Drew over here, like bench pressing and squatting, and she's like, these these fools, these idiots. And did she did she decide like, not only am I going to win this game, but then I'm going to go home and beat them at their own game and become the deadlifting champion? I don't know.
Oh my God, you fool!
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. What about the Battle of the Johns? Do you have any commentary on the Battle of the Johns?
The Battle of the Johns. John Mish actually beats John Rocker there. That's a little surprising.
It's like Red Viper versus the Mountain with a happy ending. Yeah. Well, not like, you know what I mean. Not like that happy ending.
Yeah. No, I got it. I wasn't thinking that. Yeah.
So no heads explode at all of any kind. Sorry, Rob. Listen.
Where's the spray bottle?
I don't know what's going on. Do I need
too
to
much
get
time
out
with
here?
Mike Bloom? Yeah. So the climactic battle ends up being Kelly versus Jacqueline, and Jacqueline actually beats Kelly in the first time out. We find out it's Kelly Wentworth's birthday.
It is. Happy belated.
But she ends up on her birthday being the victor, propelling Hunapu to victory.
Yeah. Great. Who's like who I had forgotten. Again, a lot of watching this has been like in like when like they wake up in the flash sideways and remember their lives before.
Yep.
Like that has sort of been like, I guess maybe San Juan Del Sur is my constant. And so like I touch Survivor San Juan Del Sur and I watch it and I'm just like washed with like a flood of sense memory. So I had completely forgotten in my mind that Dale was like so emotive, and like specifically so emotive and like physical in his reactions to like Kelly competing in this challenge. Like there's so many times where Kelsey's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
no. He's just like throwing his body all
He's
over
high
the
strung.
track.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
He beats Keith Nail also in the challenge, the old guy battle.
Sorry, I just
the
got
Golden
babed.
Survivor battle.
Just got babed.
Yeah.
It was actually dude was what I got today. But yeah, I mean, he like Farm Guy 69 does not want to see violence. He did not sign up for Survivor for this.
No. Okay.
And he's so distraught. I've never seen someone so distraught at a challenge.
Let's talk about the saga of Val. Okay, so last time out, we know that we had Val. She found the clue to the idol. I believe she came back at the last time and said that she had 2 idols. She tells us about what her situation is right now.
Right now, I am in a tight situation because I don't have an idol. I don't have anything. I am just lying.
I don't have anything. I am just lying. Man, going back to the know-it-alls, live from the basement of the Gotham Comedy Cellar. Is that what it's called? Comedy Cellar?
It was. I don't believe it was the Comedy Cellar. I believe it was something different.
Gotham Comedy Club.
Mhm.
Look at these guys. Look at these strapping lads here on the video version. What do we have here? Yeah, let's see.
We could. Honestly, I was saying that I feel like that this is like the best coverage we have of any of the live shows. The Gotham Comedy Club.
Yeah.
You can see the sign here.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk more about that at the end.
But
Sure.
all I want to say here to bring it in is, man, Fishback really gets like a real hate into Val's gameplay here.
This was a different time. You could be like, and look, and Steven is going to have a very special relationship with the Collins in about a year. So it's a origin story for sure. But I mean, it was a time where, he said that he thought that Val was maybe made the biggest blunder in Survivor history, which I thought was
a top 5 worst move was his take. My memory, I haven't gone back and read like the Fishback chapter that I wrote for the Survivor 31 preseason, but I remember Fishback being like, I don't know if Jeremy's going to like me that much because he definitely watched the coverage and I was pretty harsh to Val. So there was actually some like
introspection.
There's like some historical significance to how this particular live know-it-alls could have had some impact, at least on the Survivor Cambodia preseason, when it comes to any severe gastrointestinal distress that Steven was feeling before the game began.
If there was any issue, Jeremy did not hold it against Steven. I think, like instantly got along in Cambodia and are, friends still to this day. So I think that, look, it was a time of hot takes and hyperbole.
Has it really changed that much?
I think for us, it has. I think that maybe the hyperbole stays, but the takes are maybe not as scorching.
Yeah. Do we need to be meaner as a society?
I don't know if we need to be meaner. I think that it's not necessarily the meanness, but I do think that there is an issue with like people cannot handle any slight criticism.
Yeah.
Any slight criticism is a personal attack. Go get them, sick them. Okay. Oh, they're talking bad about us, and that the discourse is definitely more complicated.
Yeah. So we don't need to be Lamina, but are we being too Lanisa?
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Nicaragua? Yeah. I don't know. Chase Nice?
So Val said...
Turn out to me nice.
Turn out to me too nice. Yeah. Turn out to be too nice, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Survivors now, you have it lucky. You've no idea what it used to be like 10 years ago.
And that being said, also, that the discourse is also, while I feel like that the modern day players have more of a hard time like processing, or like it used to be you could criticize somebody and then they like wouldn't hold it against you so much. And this is not just with Survivor. This is like in all facets of life. You are either 100% in the tank for somebody, or you are like 100%. It's very hard to give like a nuanced opinion of things.
Nuance has been struggling.
Yes.
Nuance has been having a hard time.
But as far as the modern day Survivor players, there are ways in which things are like way more horrible and people are way more out of pocket on, it's like one thing on like a podcast.
Yeah. Like your exposure is now just like,
right.
So much greater.
You don't get like in your, I don't know if the San Juan Del Sur players, like in their mentions, were getting all sorts of like horrible thoughts retweeted and all sorts of stuff. So it is a different time.
At least not to this level.
Yeah. Okay.
And especially like now, like Twitter is like a war zone now. So like it's even like whatever safeguards existed back then.
And also that, it is a literal double-edged sword, and probably a figurative double-edged sword, in that the reach of the podcast is far greater now than what it was where in San Juan del Sur. How many people from Survivor San Juan del Sur were ever listening to this episode of the podcast? Maybe 3 or 4.
You think
not
that's
many.
it? Really? You don't think that people were listening to the podcast? That's not your memory of it?
I mean,
Wentworth's
that particular
listening, Jeremy's listening. No,
maybe a few of them. Like, was John Rocker listening?
No.
Were the Christie brothers listening? Were Wes and Keith listening?
Rocker definitely wasn't listening, and I know this is more of a next week thing because, like, I believe you guys had a fairly pleasant exit interview, if I'm remembering right.
Sure. I'm a
so he definitely
professional.
wasn't listening.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, Val is in trouble. And this is a rather complicated vote that's going on. Okay, so John Rocker feels like, all right, Val's got 2 idols. Okay, so she's gonna play her idol, and we're gonna split the votes on Val and Baylor, and then Val will be fine.
Yeah, that's it. That's the move. And so what goes wrong here?
So I think this goes back to, and we didn't talk about this at all, of that Reed and Baylor.
Actually, I believe it is Josh who is the one on.
So I apologize. That was not intentional.
Josh is the one who is on Baylor's team.
Josh and Baylor. Okay, that's they. I'm a little out of season with San Juan del Sur.
It's great. It's great.
Okay, so
this is kind of ridiculous. Like we're like, what are we talking about? This thing is
something that happened 10 years ago tonight on TV.
10 buffs greater.
Yep. And so Josh and Baylor, they had sort of like this weird thing where, and I still like Josh, I think is a smart guy who like knew the show pretty well, but I'm not sure why he just like voted for Baylor to sort of like hide his alliance with her. He could have just had a hidden alliance with Baylor and didn't have to just write her name down at the first tribal council.
Yeah, I don't really understand still sort of the logic. Maybe I get some of the logic of like, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. But like, I guess then I'm kind of wondering, like, do you tell her in advance or is it too risky to tell her?
But why?
It's
like,
why? It's still too cute. It's still too cute. It's
like, why
yeah.
were the rest of the aisles like, dude, why did you vote for Baylor? We were voting for Nadia.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, well, what if she played an idol? What if Val gave her the idol?
Right.
But anyway, so I think that we see that Josh ends up seeing John Rocker talking to Val, and his spidey senses inherited from Reed end up tingling.
Right,
and I think that maybe him or Baylor switch an extra vote to Val, and then ultimately it ends up being a 4-4 tie, and then John Rocker gets pissed and then votes Val out for not playing her idol.
And so like Val thought that like she and Rocker had kept this like tight enough that she's operating under the assumption then that people don't know that she and Rocker like have like this connection, that Rocker like filled her in on where the votes are going to go because she's freelancing off of Rocker. She doesn't like, she's like taking Rocker's info and being like, all right, well, I'm going to make my own move within that. And she just doesn't know that she's been clocked at all. So like, I think still that like I have 2 idols is like a big overreach, obviously, in terms of like the lie that she tells. With that being said, I do think like if that was ever going to like land with a group, this was the one. Koyopa was like a pretty good group to try that on. So I don't think like I don't think it's that bad of a. I actually don't think it's that bad of a play that she's like, all right, well, me and Jacqueline know where to throw our votes. I don't think that like she could have necessarily like accounted for Josh is going to like, you know, like deviate from Rocker's plan. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's like, I don't think Val's move 10 years later, like looking at it, like, I don't think it's that egregious.
I think the issue was that Rocker and Val really needed to have a conversation where Rocker needs to come back and say like, hey Val, me and your husband talked. He told me to keep an eye on you.
Totally,
and she's like, okay, all right, well, all right, good. I have to tell you, I don't have anything.
Yeah, right.
I am lying.
Right.
Like, oh, okay, that changes everything. This plan will not work. Okay, and they could have, I think, adjusted it on the fly.
Having said that, an issue in all of this is that guy's John Rocker, you know, and like Val and Jeremy, like if Jeremy knows who John Rocker is, strong chance that Val knows who John Rocker is, right? You know,
maybe they could have spotted him day zero,
right,
on the way there.
Certainly they saw each other at Ponderosa. That's a given. They're on day zero, cameras are rolling, they're allowed to talk to each other. That's a given. That dude's John Rocker. That's a given. So she knows who John Rocker is if Jeremy knows who John Rocker is. And so like she might not have reason to think that like Jeremy and Rocker are going to want to work with each other. So why would she want to be open with John Rocker? If this is like almost any other person on this season, I think maybe Val is going to be able to like have a bit more faith in the person, but it's John Rocker.
Yeah.
Noted racist and xenophobe.
So Val is still hot with Baylor. That Val feels like that Baylor really threw her and Jacqueline under the bus. They had a plan to vote with Nadia at the last tribal council, and Baylor told them to vote for Dale. Meanwhile, Baylor was voting with the guys.
Straight up, you told me to vote Dale right on camp.
Wow.
Wow was right, because you did. Own it.
Own it.
Val is so good.
That was awesome. That was awesome. I'm thrilled for all of the Survivor success for Jeremy. I would love to see Val back on a season and not just as a loved one visit. I think she'd be, if they ever did like truly like did like some sort of like early boots season, I would be so happy to see Val back.
And I know that then Val and Jeremy had, they already had two girls, and then they had the boys
After,
but I feel like we were robbed of Val and Jeremy Amazing Race.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be really good.
Especially that they have like the legacy of Natalie and Nadia coaching them.
Oh man,
Would have been great.
At the live know-it-alls, you have a very funny joke about the Amazing Race.
Yeah,
it's very good.
So ultimately,
What happened, guys? They got him. They got Rob. Can you guys see me at least? If so, AMA, ask me anything. I'm taking over the podcast now. I imagine this will be removed for the video, for the podcast version. Oh, shit, he's back. I was about to talk smack.
Josh, we were very confused at the live know-it-alls that night.
Certainly were.
We didn't know what was happening. And we tried to piece it together. We had never done this before, of trying to watch an episode of Survivor in a crowded room and then be able to process it and talk about it with the people in the building. And now, from what I recall, I don't know what your recollection was. this was not like in the modern day where we are watching the show on like a 200-foot screen.
No. So I was here for this. This was the
You get name checked. Yeah.
I get name checked. This is a night where I am meeting many of the people from this world for the very first time, including the great Mike and Angela Bloom, who I go out to dinner with before.
Oh,
this.
nice.
And then I believe Jessica Leese. I meet her for the first time here as well. Was this the first time you and I had met in person?
I have a recollection of you being at my house. I'm not sure if that. I believe that was during Cagayan.
Yeah. I would have met you at Cagayan because I would have been in LA for that for sure. So that would have made sense. But look at this. Look, do you see this here? I got it. I'm going to put it in. Look at this. It's a little small, but look at these.
Enhance.
All right, let's see if I can enhance. Enhance. Whoa. Two enhanced. Two enhanced. Look at that. Look at these guys.
Yeah.
Look at these young whippersnappers.
Here, can we enhance some more?
Yeah, let's see. Hold on. I gotta try and I have like one of those little track pads, and you can go too far.
You overshot it.
Yeah. So this is like about as big as
Mike Bloom looks like Zach Wertenberger.
Kind of. Maybe is he a time traveling Zach Wertenberger?
I mean, it would track. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of looks like you're wearing the same shirt today that you wore back then.
Look,
something strange.
Yeah, something that you may not know about me. I have shirts that are
in one corner,
older than my children.
In one corner, you have the young lad. In the other corner, you have the young plaid. And that's who we're looking at right now.
Yeah.
Very, very. Look at these babies. And I was 29, the same age as the season.
Yeah.
And then the next season, I would turn 30 and would celebrate at the live know-it-alls. And there would be a GIF of me.
Yes, I remember. Yes.
Maybe we'll talk about that next year.
if we get there. Let me see. Do I have any photos of that night? Let me see if I can.
It was an incredible night, and it is I haven't been to a live RHAP event in a long time, and I don't know when the next one I'll go to is, but we'll see. But even the last one that I went to would have been 5-ish years ago now at this point. And the size difference, the scale between how this thing started and how this thing's going. Really, really wild.
How it started, how it's going.
It was we were in a basement in a New York comedy club that was, as you say on the pod, at capacity. How did you feel that night? If you were ever nervous, you don't show it at all on tape.
I was a little nervous. I watched it back in terms of how we were doing the show. Steven and I had never done the show in person before. And so I think that there was a little bit of confusion of what we were doing.
Yeah.
That this one I think went off pretty well. It's actually the second one that we do, which was during Worlds Apart, which I feel was the rougher live show. The episode that we have famously called the worst episode of Survivor history. Not a lot going on there.
Yeah.
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 But I was excited.
Sometimes
I think
you get lucky, right? I think very interesting exercise would be to rank the episodes of the Survivor know-it-alls, of the live Survivor KIAs, from you get Malcolm on getting voted out on Game Changers and iconic red wedding moment from that. That has to be really high on the list. I'm to understand that Caleb's Shot in the Dark was a live show.
Yeah.
So this would be fun. I would love
that
to.
Was exciting. I don't have any pictures from the night. I had a 6-second video that was on my phone. Can we play this?
Yeah. Yes. Let's do it. Hit it.
Is there any sound? Is it?
You have to. There's a button that you have to push, I think, somewhere to make the sound happens.
Yeah. That's Sam is controlling that.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll
he
see
says
what happens.
1 second.
He says 1 second. All right. We'll go back to it. We'll go.
Yeah.
Back to it.
Also, anything else from the live show, the clip that you watched?
You mentioned that Jeff Probst is on fire.
Yes, I did. I flagged that.
You
also.
say it twice. Jeff Brooks
I
is on
thought that
fire.
Jeff had a great night in this episode.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that you called your shot like 8 years early. That Jeff Probst would have a podcast called On Fire.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yeah,
let's see.
good.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Three balls. Okay. That's a little shot of like what we were watching.
We
So
were
it's
we were like ostensibly in a bar with these like, I don't want to call them crappy TVs, but I guess that's what they were. They were like comparatively like you've held these at like the AMC Lowe's in Lincoln Center. Like we upgrade our gear from here. We were watching them on 2 small TVs.
Yeah.
2 tiny TVs. How we were watching.
Yeah, so it was not ideal, and so there was a lot of confusion in terms of what we're doing. I think that the stress for me that night was, I think that Stephen Fishback called me and said he couldn't make it. I think he bazinged me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
Like
said he wasn't going to make it
as a prank.
Yeah,
he was like, "Sorry, Rob,
I can't make it." Yeah.
And it was just a joke. It wasn't like 11th-hour panic.
Right. But then I think he was trying to call me back to say that he wasn't joking, but I think there was bad cell phone reception in the basement. But so that was the most stressed that I was.
He was a little late, wasn't
I think he was like cutting it close.
I actually am now remembering this too, because now I'm remembering like having like a conversation with you at this point where like we're talking almost every day because we're recording the Evolution of Strategy. What are we up to now? We're recording Vanuatu probably this week.
Probably, yeah.
At this point, and so like I think I was like, hey Robs, how are you doing? So like now I feel like we're friends. I can come up, I can talk to you, we can hang out before the show, and I believe I remember you confiding me like, Steven's not here yet. I don't know what's going to happen.
But he was joking. He was just
not
joking.
a good joke. Not a good joke.
Yeah.
Fishback, a dry, sharp wit. Like very, very, very clever, but pranks maybe not his forte.
Maybe
just
not.
Just a thought. Like, hey, I'm gonna bail on you with 45 minutes to go before one of the most important moments of your career. Just kidding. Like, that's not a very good joke.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay.
You should have seen your face. Yeah. Don't say that, Josh.
Oh, right. Ooh,
yeah. Okay. All right. Then also in the crowd, Sophie Clark makes an appearance here. Really, Sophie, I think that her mic needed to be turned up.
Yeah,
it's hard to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was. I think there were some mic issues. Fishback's mic broken at the top. The speaker mic, the guest mic, seemed to be a little low. But you had like a good steady flow of people coming up. Many faces that I recognized and was so happy to go back and see. And like some good questions along the way. Yeah. I think like this is like a very good first live know-it-alls.
Yeah. I think we did pretty good.
And the episode in hindsight, maybe not at the time felt like particularly exciting, but the episode in hindsight, I think really...
it held up.
It held up.
And listen to this serenade from the great Randy Rice.
The smartest guys around are about to break it down like they'd won the game a million times. Well, actually, they didn't really win the game at all. Survivor know-it-alls. Ooh, Survivor know-it-alls. Steven and Rob, without a doubt, got the game all figured out. They know it all.
Yes.
Survivor know-it-all.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes. Turn out to be right.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
And that is, I guess, the one common denominator between season 47, episode 2, and season 29, episode 2. Some great moments with Rice.
Yes, some really good moments with.
Pocket that one away.
For sure.
We can keep that one.
Yeah.
And of course,
it was great to see those old, like the really old school RHAP shirt, the Eric Reichenbach design with like you and Nicole like in Star Wars pose.
Mhm.
I still have that shirt somewhere. I used to wear it all the time.
Mhm.
There's no piece of RHAP merch that I have used more than that shirt, other than the mug. The mug is like my coffee mug now.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, so nice turnout here. Turnout to be nice for this episode. Got some decent live viewership. I mean, that just being full transparency,
Yeah.
I think that there is like a little bit of a question between Josh and myself about should we
the questions are like, what are we doing?
what are we doing
What
here?
is this? What are we doing?
This is definitely fun to get together for an hour a week and go back in time to what was happening.
Is it useful?
10 years ago
Is
to the day?
like, what are you getting out of this?
But maybe there's something else we should be doing with our time.
Yeah, like what should we do? What should we do? What should it be? Do you have
Should we
thoughts?
talk about John Rocker getting voted out next week?
I mean, like failing a better idea, I'm very here for it. I mean, here's what I'm getting out of this. Like cosmic rays, like a supremely powerful beam of nostalgic positivity. That's what I'm getting from going back and what Ari Ferrari in the chat. I'm getting nostalgia.
Sure.
Is what Ari is saying, and me too, my guy. Like that's what I'm getting. We also got this from Brian Killing It. No, I hit the wrong thing. This is it. Are y'all going to do any more TEOS? I've been listening to it for the first time, and it's so funny. This almost feels like TEOS. Like,
We're almost picking up where we left off.
It kind of feels like that. It sort of feels like we short shrifted San Juan Del Sur and Worlds Apart during TEOS.
Well,
so this almost feels like a fairer evaluation. I feel like this is like secretly like the true TEOS ending.
Yeah. The thing that's really fun about this for me is that we did TEOS, okay? We talked about every single season of the show, and this was like the new era of Survivor when we did TEOS. Now, this is ESPN Classic.
Yeah. Yeah, and in a lot of ways that sucks. I don't have more to say. Like in a lot of ways that sucks because it means we're 10 years older. In so many ways though.
Yeah. But this was like the bleeding edge of Survivor.
Yeah.
And now it's a throwback.
I love it. I'm very happy with it. I think the throwback is really, really fun. I think it could be interesting also to revisit potentially, especially while we still can, like where were we in the recording of the TEOS process? I think we would have been at Palau for next.
Well, so and I'm traveling because I'm in New York for this. That this was this trip for me was that I came into New York. We did the live show on Wednesday night, October 1st. And then that weekend, Nicole and I were going to be throwing a first birthday party for a young Dominic. And so we had a rather big family party for Dominic. And that was what happened over the weekend. And then I think we probably maybe Sunday night.
Your mom is at the live
My mom was at the live show.
Like,
Right.
will you guys move back to the East Coast?
Like, and we're like, okay, Mom, bet.
Yeah, but not close enough.
Yeah, not close enough.
Not close enough.
So yeah,
so it's a real blood versus water affair, even at the live know-it-all. Is your mom is there. Your son is 1 at this point. Your other son is not yet born.
Not yet born.
At
Right.
this point. Anthony doesn't even exist yet. 10 years greater, I'm sure you couldn't have imagined it at the live know-it-alls, but 10 years greater, can you imagine yourself doing sumo at sea with Dominic? Now that he's a person?
Father son sumo at sea.
Yeah,
I mean,
10,
I think
10 years from now when he's on the show and you're doing blood versus water
I think
with
I still
Dominic,
got him for a minute, but I don't know.
would you rock him? Like, how would you go? Like, how hard would you go? Would you?
Did they do any Wes and Keith? But Wes and Keith didn't battle each other. Wes battled Jeremy. They actually beat Jeremy. Wes is a big boy, though.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You've evaded the question, but that's all right.
We will check the comments, see what y'all have to say here as we continue on. Back to the present day Survivor coming up at Wednesday night, 9:45 p.m. Eastern. Tevin from Survivor 46 will be my guest.
That's fun. I really like Tevin. I think he was a terrific confessional giver. I would have loved to have seen more of Tevin.
Yes, looking forward to hearing what he has to say about Survivor 47. Also, Sam Moore wants me to remind people, if you want to experience the modern
San
day...
Juan Del Sur?
If you want to experience the modern day live show, we don't call it the Know-It-Alls anymore because, there's no Steven.
Yeah.
One day, maybe.
One day.
He might come out of retirement.
Yeah.
But we will be live October 16th back in New York City for a very exciting show. I believe it's going to be episode number 5 of Survivor 47. If you want to be there, there are still some tickets available at robhasawebsite.com/NYC47. We will also be holding a patron-only event on Tuesday night, a little bit of a meet and greet just for our patrons on Tuesday night. Patrons will get that info over on Patreon.
Go to, patreon.com/
How about this? Go to rhapplus.com.
Whoa, rhapplus.com. Become a patron at rhapplus.com. Support the arts. This is what we need.
Right. All right, Josh, what's coming up for you?
What do you think about that? Arts, a return to strategy. Support the arts. That's what's happening over here.
Support the arts of war.
Support the arts of war. Oh, is that the sequel to TOS? The Arts of War? The Arst of War. What's going on for me? Tons at WeKnowScriptedTV.com, where you can get the scripted side of RHAP. Industry just came in for a thunderous conclusion for its 3rd season. We've got podcast coverage of that. There's podcast coverage of Lord of the Rings, The Penguin, weekly TV takes from Taryn and Grace on The Tastemakers every Tuesday. Every weekend, Antonio Mazzaro and I getting together to talk about TV as well. We did a battle of the streamers this past weekend to decide which of the streamers.
A sumo at sea?
Yeah, it was sort of a sumo at sea for the streamers. Some head-to-head action there, so you can check that out. Additionally, I talked about this week's episode of Survivor 47 on the B&B with Mike and Liana. We got to play some games. It was great, super fun.
Yeah. I have not checked that out yet, but I've been meaning to, so I would love to hear what you have to say on the B&B. Always a fun time, and always a fun time when you and I get together.
I agree. And this endorsement from Melissa. If you're not listening to Tastemakers, TV for Real, and the Weekend program, you are missing out massively. Wow. I'm biased, but I agree. And if you want to fix this mistake for yourself, you can go to WeKnowScriptedTV.com, find your way to the subscriber page, hit subscribe to the podcast. Huge way to support the podcast is to subscribe to the feed. That's very helpful for us. So go to WeKnowScriptedTV.com. Hit that upvote on the subscribe button.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us here. And we will see you next time.
Are we going to talk John Rocker?
I think that we need to hear from the listeners.
How about this? For lack of better idea, we're going to watch San Juan Del Sur 3 next week. And if between now and then someone has like a brilliant idea as well, we could talk it through on the podcast.
How about this? You and I will watch it and you and I will talk about it.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about it on the phone, just you and I together.
Okay.
Unless I hear from some people that they want more of this. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great threat.
Either way, Josh and I are going to talk at 3 p.m. next Tuesday.
Yeah. The question is, will we have cameras on? Will you be hearing it? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So turn out.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care. Have a good one.